So yeah, we will get started. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining the digital transformation webinar on energy and manufacturing. We will be talking about intelligent automation opportunities and challenges in energy and manufacturing industry during this webinar. Myself, I'm Ajinkya Birwadkar, director at Tangentia India, and just wanted to let you guys know before moving forward. Today's webinar is being recorded, and we will be sending out the recordings to everyone after the webinar is done. We are also live on Facebook and YouTube as well. So in case any of your colleagues, friends are interested in joining through YouTube, Facebook, please feel free to reach out to them. Also for questions, please put all your questions in chat. We will be answering those questions once the webinar ends. So please feel free to type in your questions in the chat box, and then we will address them once the webinar is done. Today, from a panel perspective, we have Mr. Pramod Agarwal. He is CTO and head of IQ-Bot for Automation Anywhere EMEA region. Just to brief you about Pramod, Pramod is actually a technology leader with over 23 years, 23 and more, like 23 plus years of global experience in creating well-designed business applications and high-performance technology platforms. He also has 2 patents under his name. One for multilingual tagging of contents with conditional display of unilingual tag, and the second one he has is for virtual federation and remote portals. He's an alumni of IIT Roorkee and IIM Bangalore, and also the Ohio State University, USA. Along with him, we have Mr. Vijay Thomas, who is the founder and CEO of Tangentia and Tangentia Group of Companies. Vijay actually started Tangentia in 2003, and since then the company has flourished and expanded and has offices across several countries now. So now I would like to hand over to Mr. Vijay Thomas, who is going to tell us more about Tangentia and Tangentia successful RPA projects. Over to you, Vijay.
Thank you, AJ, and welcome everybody. It's a good evening, I guess, to in India. I am in Toronto, Canada. It's a great day here. It's starting up, and I really would like to thank Pramod Agarwal for making time for us. With a wealth of information, a wealth of experience, and we'll try to get a little bit out of each other here. We've done something, so we'll keep it very conversational. I'll get through some of the Tangentia slides very quickly, and we'd also like questions from the audience. So please send us your questions, and we will try to address. It's not very often that you get somebody like Pramod on available. And those of you who know IQ-Bot obviously know that there's a lot of interesting and fascinating technology there. So quickly, something about Tangentia. Who's Tangentia? We've been in business more than 16 years. I think that slide needs a little changing. We've probably been a little, now I think, up to 17, 18 years now. We've been partners on some of the best breed technologies, including Automation Anywhere. We've got 12 Fortune 500 customers. And then we also have our own platforms on which we do nearly $10 billion in SaaS transactions. Again, more than 1,000 customers worldwide, and of which 12 are Fortune 500. So moving on, what do we really do? And we've been trying to create exactly our view of automation and the Tangentia view of automation. And this is something that we've actually running a campaign on right now, is taking the paper out of paperwork. Now, it might seem like oversimplification of some of the stuff that we do, but in essence, if you give a little bit of marketing leeway to the campaign, it is essentially what we are doing. So we're taking paper out of paperwork, right? So this is something that we've been really pushing hard. So we want paper processes. When I say paper, it's also an analogous to manual processes. It might not really have paper, but if some human sits in and looks at an Excel sheet and takes information and puts it into another application, I mean, it is not paper per se, but it is still a manual process. So it is a statement that we make there. So you got to give it a little bit of marketing leeway, but that's essentially what we're trying to do now, taking the paper out of paperwork. So moving on. So what does aim for impact mean? Aim for impact is also AIM, where AIM is an acronym for automate, innovate, and make it happen. So that essentially gives you a flavor of who we are at Tangentia. So aim for impact, and we definitely try to make go for impact at everything that we do, especially projects, and we'll give you a few examples of projects where we've really made an impact, and we will look at that. Moving on. So again, taking the paper out of paperwork, please check us out. All our social media properties, website, you'll get a little more idea of what we mean. And today, okay, we got a small video here. You want to play that?
Is there an audio? We can't hear the audio.
Yeah, I think so. The audio is not coming up, Daryl. But you know what? I think it is. I think you got to share the tab for the audio to come in. Okay, so thank you, Daryl. Let's move on. So basically, what we're saying is, with automation and with taking paper out of paperwork, we've run a campaign. Our salespeople actually go to customer sites and we take paper, the orange crane. We run competitions called Tangentia Origami. We tell people, take your paper, take your paper purchase orders, invoices, make it into origami. Put it to good use. And we're hoping at some point people realize, hey, that's the best use of paper. We don't really need it in the process. So I think we're trying to get people to see that paper really needs to be taken out. And obviously there's other reasons, from a Tangentia standpoint, from an Automation Anywhere standpoint, as automation professionals, we're obviously looking at getting the process automated, but there are other benefits in terms of also saving paper and all of that stuff. So again, Tangentia, what are practices? Automation, that's AI, RPA, blockchain, B2B, EDI, auto management, e-commerce. If you live in India, if you live in Canada, we touch your lives. Like our B2B group, every vendor to Reliance Retail uses a Tangentia B2B platform called Tangentia Gateway. In Canada, some of the largest CPG manufacturers, Whirlpool, the Liquor Control Board of Ontario. We've got a bunch of different companies that use Tangentia for their B2B. Digital app development, RBC, the Royal Bank of Canada, we've been doing app development for quite some time now. So these are three different practices and main practices for Tangentia. Moving on. And we have a 4P delivery model, and we will talk about how this first P is people. Essentially, we can provide the people to manage the projects for the automation, taking paper out of paperwork. Second is projects, soup to nuts. We can do all of those things, for our customers. Platforms, we have our own platforms. We'll talk about some of that, like TIA. And then partners, we partner with, we resell software for some of our partners, including Automation Anywhere. That's one of our main partners globally. Moving on. Yeah, so we'll now quickly get to the meat of the presentation. some of our customer stories, in energy and manufacturing. Suncor is one of our major customers globally. Suncor, those of you who don't know, is Canada's largest oil company. It's like the ConocoPhillips or the BP of Canada. There are integrated energy company with actual oil sands. They actually get oil out. They have refinery. They have Petro-Canada, which is their retail. So they're one of the largest oil companies in Canada, not one of the largest, and also one of the largest worldwide. So what does Tangentia do at Suncor? Now Suncor has embraced RPA. Because it's such a large company, what we are still doing is only a couple of divisions within Suncor. We are managing the build. We are building bots. We are building business cases for bots. We're also doing managed services. We run what they call a bot factory as well. So we've also created bots for specific areas, and we'll look at that in the next slide, but I'll go through this quickly. So there's more than 500 plus bots run on a 24/7, 365 days a year, managed by Tangentia, and this is truly one of those enterprise implementations where if you are an automation professional, you definitely want to see bots working alongside humans, right? If you're a company that has, let's say, 10,000 employees, and we did a study and we see at some point when the dust settles and automation is embraced, between 10 to 20% of the number of human employees will be digital workers. Now there's different stories, but this is different studies and different numbers out there. But we think in the global workforce, there are, let's say, going to be 2 billion, active workers. If there's going to be 2 billion active workers, there's going to be, possibly between, if I take my ratio of 10%, it's 200 million to 400 million bots in the workplace, right? So that is huge. So we've got to not just make sure that the bots are kept abreast, but also manage with SLAs and all of that. So moving on. So we'll get into a little more detail with that. So these are some of the bots that we created. Finn is, and then these are bots that we've also given names. Finn is a finance bot. Hugh is the HR reporting, board, work orders. So these are different bots that also seem human and seem like digital workers. So it's not just bot number 340 that does this. So you actually know Ingrid is going to do invoicing. Hey, what's wrong with Ingrid? Maybe Ingrid's not, Ingrid's sending a lot of errors. Ingrid's throughput is lower. It actually makes, lets bots play in the workplace, in a manner in which it's accepting, and we're able to also, we can actually take an Ingrid from the department 1 and take Ingrid and put in department 2 with a little tweaks. Ingrid probably needs to learn a little bit about department 2, but Ingrid as a whole knows exactly how invoicing is done. So that, I think, is the repeatable nature of this, is creating bots that are kind of, once created, you can actually put them into a, for want of a term, a cupboard, and you can get them out of there, and you can then deploy them as need be. So moving on, and we'll get into a little more detail here in a conversation if there's questions. We have now another one of our customers. It's the world's largest potash marketing company. Specifically, what we targeted here, and potash comes out of a province called Saskatchewan in Canada, and all of this potash is exported to different countries, including India, China, Brazil. All the large agricultural countries require potash. And a lot of the potash now, since Saskatchewan is somewhere in the middle of Canada, all of this has to go to the both the seaports. It has to either go to the Atlantic coast or the Pacific, and so a lot of invoicing happens for potash in each railway wagon. A lot of invoices for QA checks, as it loads into the ships, as it gets unloaded. So there's a lot of information that came in, and some of this information took a long time to be put in. So so with we implementing an RPA solution, transparency in the whole supply chain was available to not just Canprotec's internal, but also the vendors. They knew exactly where the invoices were, but also this was a proxy for Canprotex to know exactly where our containers are as well. There were other systems, but a finance person knew, hey, this is actually processed, so the ship must have gone right now, or the train, we're not getting any more invoices, so maybe the train is stuck, maybe there's a forest fire, maybe there's something. So in a way, the ability to take information and process it very quickly and put it into systems gave a very good insight to every participant in the supply chain, and I think that was fantastic. And some of the benefits that came across were I will switch to Hindi a little bit for emphasis. Zameen Asman ka farak. We were talking days and weeks for processing. It got done in seconds and minutes. So I think that is the impact. When we say aim for impact, we're not saying, it is not in the other version of this in Hindi is 19-20. 19-20 is around 5% difference. Okay, so we're not attempting in most of what we are doing for getting 19-20 difference. 19-20, those of you is 19-20, which is 5%. So 5% increase is almost negligible. I mean, we're not going to sweat it, and there's no impact. But a lot of the stuff that we're doing, the impact is huge. So we're definitely going for that, and we can talk for more details. Yeah. Next, moving on. This one, I think, Pramod, I think you can come in here as well, because this we did in partnership with Automation Anywhere, one of the largest implementations, and I think IQBot, one of the largest implementations from our side. We had more than 30 people working on this. Fantastic. And I think, Pramod, you know the backstory on this as well, on some of this. So I'll let you lead this. I mean, we were partners with Automation Anywhere on this, but you guys were leading the charge.
Yeah, this is a great story, Vijay, and I loved hearing everything you said. And I was absorbing, listening to you. So passionate about technology. I think that clearly comes through. And we're great to have you and Tangentia team as our partner. I think it is technology creation is one thing, but it really gets assimilated into our customers only when partners like yourself take time to understand the technology, develop skills, and implement it at customers' requirements. You play a very important role in assimilation of technology worldwide, and I congratulate you for having such a strong and professional technology team that can do the job for our customers. So congratulations on that. Automation Anywhere, I think for the folks that don't know Automation Anywhere, we've been in the business for over 16, 17 years now. I think similar to Tangentia's timeline. And about 5 years ago is when the terminology RPA, or robotic process automation, got really coined, though the software was operational even before then. And I think we have seen tremendous uptake of technology in the last 5 years. And in my role as a CTO for the India, Middle East, Africa region, I get to see the adoption of software at our large customers and partners. And the intensity of technology is really mind-boggling in the pace at which it is getting absorbed in organizations. And truly, I think the pandemic accelerated many of that. The pandemic also accelerated adoption of cloud. And I think it's very important from a oil and gas and manufacturing perspective to understand the cloud model of software, because I think as these industries have very typical cost pressures that are unheard of from a say high-tech company perspective. So cloud has taken a sort of a huge leap in the last 5 years, and especially in the last 1 year. I think we are seeing over 60% of our new customer logos on cloud. And I encourage the participants on this call to look at our cloud offering, where you can very easily purchase and provision and get started with your automation in a matter of days. And as from the automation portfolio perspective, we sort of describe it as a virtual cycle of automation, which starts with discovering what you want to automate, to digitize, which happens through our IQBot product, which essentially has the intelligence to understand a document like an invoice, like an email, like a tax form, like a claims form, like a government form, like a bill of lading form. So any of these industrial documents can be understood for its content by the IQBot technology and make it available in a digital form. And before you pass it on to a system of record for updating, for example, an SAP system or other systems, you can introduce the human in the loop validation, where the human can validate if the information being pushed into the system of records is the right and the accurate one, and makes the whole process less error prone and more efficient, right? And then after digitizing, clearly automation, and then you analyze what you've done through our bot insight product. So it's a virtual cycle of automation, where you start with discovery, you go to digitization, you go to automation, then you analyze, and then you keep repeating that cycle over and over and achieve greater results. And as Tangentia tagline says, making your business soar. And I think some of these stories that Vijay has shared are clearly about, they're not about the incremental change due to the efficiency gained in a computer doing a process rather than a human being. It's really a story of transformation. And I know that when I joined Automation Anywhere about 2 years ago, the story around automation was mostly understood as the story of efficiency. But I think since then, I think a lot has changed in our understanding of automation technology, where we're truly beginning to understand the impact of automation in transforming your business, right? So an example similar to the example with CanProtex that I often talk about is an order to cash process for a very large computer storage provider from US. And they implemented order to cash automation, where they used automation to collect information from their different systems, create an invoice, and then obviously send it out to their customers. The benefit there was that with accurate invoicing and automated invoicing, typically if you look at high-tech providers, we have a tendency to bunch up all the order processing in the last quarter and even more in the last week of the quarter. And if you automate that process, then what happens is that you don't have to hire contract workers during that peak period and train them. And of course, you know what happens when you hire contract workers during a peak period. Your errors in the process completion can be markedly higher than your full-time staff that's working day in and day out on the same process. Now, automation of that resulted in freeing up the time from your regular workers who are working on that process. It created more accurate invoices. It resulted in, most importantly, not in the savings due to contracted workers, but because you were invoicing correctly, you were receiving cash more quickly as per the terms, right? There was no back and forth on the invoicing. There was no back and forth on did I receive a wrong part? And that resulted in significant cash flow improvement for this particular vendor, for this particular customer. So that's the change in the business that you're looking for when you're thinking about automation and not thinking about a particular step in a process being automated. You have to develop a process level thinking when you're trying to do any kind of automation. And that's where you will gain a step change improvement in what you're trying to do with projects like automation, AI, and things of that nature. Um, so, Vijay, I thought I'll ask you a few questions.
Sure, sure.
Are you okay?
Do you want to? I did not. There's some Brexit, backstory to
Oh yeah, Brexit
JLR.
backstory. Yeah, so thank you for reminding me. So with JLR, of course, they're a large customer of ours. They talked to us about their need for processing bills because with Brexit, a bunch of rules changed for vendors in Europe, especially if you were selling into Europe or if you had manufacturing in Europe or OEM vendors in Europe. So with Brexit, a lot of rules changed, and as a result, what happened for this particular customer was there was a tremendous backlog of invoices to be processed. And due to Brexit changes in the regulations, they were also required to process these documents by a certain date, without which they would have to incur a lot of penalties. And the only way to do this is clearly take help from an automation tool. And in this case, IQBot was used to automate reading of these invoices and other types of documents to make sure that you can read that quickly and then you can apply specific validation rules so you can then enter the correct data into the systems. And not doing it correctly would be a problem for JLR in this example. So again, automation here seems like a mundane task that has been automated, which is document reading, right? But the business impact of this is savings of millions of dollars and being able to comply to the changing rules that the changing political situation in Britain and Europe took place earlier in the year. So you can think of it as um, a need that was driven out of the external factors to the company. But we know that today, a lot of companies in various contexts are going through changes in their operational environment. And automation can play a key role in making your compliance happen and then therefore run your business in a much more efficient way.
Absolutely. No, thank you. And in fact, I must confess, I knew we were involved in the project. We did it. I did not realize that was the trigger. I did not realize until we had a quick call yesterday, right? So thank you very much for that, Pramod. And I think let's move on to the next where we're going to have this conversational. And I think Pramod, you're free to ask me questions, and maybe I might have some questions for you, because I think there's a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge, from you that also I'd like people to know of as well.
Sure. So before we begin, I think I just want to request to the audience that you can put your questions in the Q&A box or in the chat box, preferably in the Q&A box, so we can take them after probably 15 minutes or so. So first question I have, Vijay, for you is, where did the crane idea come from, and why is it not
that's
a logo?
Good. Yes. So the crane, and it's not just crane. It is a multiple animals. So if you go to our website, you'll see a crane, you'll see a giraffe. So it's all origami. So I think it's our marketing company. We were aimed for impact. So we had, I think before this, we had animals in our campaign, and these were real animals. We had digital transformation. As I said, we want huge impact. So we had something like the puffer fish. Puffer fish doubles to like 10 times its size or something like that in a few seconds. Like the ant can carry multiple times its load so we had those examples from the animal kingdom. But it's very difficult for you to actually get images and videos of ants and all of that stuff. So we said, what, this is not sustainable. And we're not that big a company to actually have real animals. And so the kangaroo can leap very hard. We're maybe if you're bigger, we could send a team to Australia to but it's not sustainable. So at some point we were thinking, and that's when the paper out of paperwork came in as well. And then we aligned the two together. So we've kept the animal theme, where you're creating now origami, but we've tied it in paperwork with our previous animal campaign as well. So you've got now, instead of a real frog, there's a origami frog, so it says leap or soar, so those are things I think we want to play on. So I think we're trying to be friendly to the environment, and also realistic, that what is it that we can actually take to customer places, get our customers to embrace. We had a very successful campaign on social media where people made their own origami and took pictures, and we had a competition, and I think it was very well received.
I think this is a very smart idea, and I just hope that you're using recycled paper to save trees.
Yes, yes.
But I think where I wanted to go with this is that I think even for the center of excellence teams, COE teams, which have proved to be very instrumental in navigating through the challenges of implementing a new technology, especially in the RPA context, in the last 3 or 4 years, we've seen that has become a primary vehicle as the first step to success in an organization for spreading automation. I think tools like this, which can help with imagination, are very helpful. And I think that's where I really love that idea. And I think the people in this conference who are working in a COE or who are thinking about setting up a COE, I think should take some example from this to say, how do I evangelize the idea? And I think these kind of things help in evangelizing the idea really well. I mean, you can have a 20-page deck versus a crane. I think the crane will win against the 20-page deck. So very, very creative there. And I also love the fact that you talked about 500 plus bots at Suncor, and talked about potentially looking at a couple of 100 million bots for a moderate implementation of this kind of technology. And I think I'm pleased to inform you, Vijay, that we have had over 3 million bots in production now. So we are on the path to 200 million. And with the support of the evangelists that are listening to this conversation today, I think we will make very, very rapid progress towards that goal that you've set for us.
So I'll just add on to that. So anybody that's on the sides, okay, so two things here. There are some people who said, oh, it's too late, we've missed the boat. No, you haven't missed the boat. There's a lot still. Okay, we have only scratched the surface still. There is a lot to be done. Okay, so any of you out there thinking, oh, we missed this boat, we'll just wait for the next something to come. No, this is real. This has to be done. So make those investments. Even if you haven't as yet, I think you've got to consider, if you are personally looking at a career in automation, it's not too late. I mean, it's still early days. It's Automation Anywhere, one of the largest players, has 3 million bots. And by our estimates, we are saying 200 million to 400 million, and that could be a very conservative estimate as well. So and this is where jobs are going to be created. It is definitely a place to be. So just wanted to add that in there as well, Pramod.
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful comment. What we've seen over the last 2 to 3 years is we have been investing very heavily into skill development. And in India, we have very large skill development program where we aim to have 1 million trained professionals, and we have Automation Anywhere University, which has free program to learn automation. One thing that has proved very insightful to us is that as finance workers, operations workers, as they learn the automation, you have to essentially, maybe a parallel I can give is, knowing Excel, right? If you knew Excel, your job opportunity is improved, right? This is without a doubt, right? That if you're an operations or finance worker, an HR worker, Excel made your application look better for a job, right? I think in the same way, when you know automation, it essentially means that you can do your job in a smarter way. And who does not love a smart employee, right? Everybody loves a smart employee. So I think automation is that skill that you will have to have in your kitty. And fortunately, vendors like Automation Anywhere, they're providing free toolkit to learn the tricks of automation. And And of course, you'll get certificate for completing that automation course as well. So I think that's very helpful. The other one that I think is very helpful from an automation toolkit perspective for those who want to learn is uh, our software, for example, is now a web-based software, right? Which means that organizations who are looking to deploy automation can deploy to hundreds and thousands of workers with the click of a button, because all you have to do is open up the URL in a browser and you have the whole automation interface where you can do a drag and drop of a bot command to create your own bot, right? And it's very easy to get skilled into building a bot. And I think that's where you can aim for impact, because the scale is possible now with the automation technology. Vijay, I wanted to pick your brain on this story around CanProtex that you were talking about. You talked about bringing in transparency and through this invoice automation process. Can you talk a little bit more about what was the mindset of the organization before they started on this, almost what appears to be a technology-led transformation? And when did they realize that this is bigger than just automating a certain step?
Yeah. So I think they're in that journey right now. So I think initially the problem is the vision needs to be sold. So this is where you've got to almost be playing two tracks at the same time for thing to be successful. And those of you who've been trying to either sell internally into your company or if you're trying to sell to somebody else, realize at some point there is somebody, for want of a term, we'll call them a bean counter, that's going to sit and say, why do I spend this money? At the end of the day, there has to be some money that has to go out, and it has to come from a budget. So this almost has to go back where somebody has to budget in a budgeting cycle, and then it has to come in. So there is, so you've got to first vision this, get top management to realize that they've got to do this. So I think in that sense, I think we had to do it multiple different ways. We kind of started off where somebody found out, Googled, and then they called us and said, "Can you do this?" And we said yes, but it was a small thing. Can you help us solve this invoice problem? And then we said yes, we can do that. But and then we had to transition to doing, we can do not just this, you should consider a wider amount of invoices, right? I mean, and I think slowly, it depends on, like with anything in the world, it's all it's philosophy. Like people, you have a personal philosophy, but there's also a company philosophy. There's an organizational philosophy. Some organizations are early adopters. Some people will wait and see. Some people, you need to actually, you need everybody else to be doing it, and then they will join in at the last thing. And obviously, at that point, it's all baked. The technology is all 100% baked. You might actually get better price. It's philosophy. Now, people who go down there, that's where cutting edge, bleeding edge, all these terms got coined. You do have the benefits. You do get the benefits of being on that, the cutting edge and doing things earlier. So I think what I'm trying to say is in the CanProtex example, we had to switch between multiple perspectives, because we had to get people sign off. We started off very tactical, but then we had to expand it to being, it's still not gone to enterprise wide, but it's still within the AARI, especially around the supply chain processes. But I think there is huge opportunity, and I think it's taking a little time. As I said, it takes cycles for it to happen, especially in companies where they have very defined budgeting and where the money has to come through a whole year. And if the budget is 1 year and you want to buy this, you've got to put it in this year for next year, unless it's something very critical, which obviously it is critical in our view. In my view, it is very critical. But you know what? The business goes on, right? It's maybe inefficient, or there's an opportunity cost of not doing it. But it's not. The business doesn't end, right? So in that sense, I think we encourage people to start having these conversations as early as possible. You will realize, even if you are the evangelist, you see the writing on the wall. Bureaucracy, the way companies work, and it's a good thing. Okay, so and I started Tangentia, and there was no bureaucracy, there was nothing. We decided how we wanted to do things, but at some point there's value in structure. But I think we need to work with that structure and see how we can do this. So I think, to answer your question, we're getting there. Tactical, more strategic. I think that conversation is happening. So it's somewhere between tactical and strategic right now.
Yeah, I think I can totally understand, especially in the manufacturing sector, the energy sector. I've seen the technology adoption happens in a very conservative manner. I think the game is changing and the mindsets are changing, but I think we have to work with what we have. And I think there is a benefit to looking at a project where you can make a measurable impact, where you can show that at low risk, you can get the project done, you can showcase the success, and then do more in the subsequent budget cycles. So start small, demonstrate success, and then nothing sells like success afterwards. So that's definitely true. And some of these technologies, especially which pay for themselves within 12 to 18-month period, sometimes even shorter amount of time, I think if you can align the value that you're going to gain out of the project and demonstrate that success, I think that can become a rolling wheel after that to doing
Absolutely.
more.
So and I think that's where we want to. So the holy grail here is, we think, is once you have the COE and a bot factory, right? We call it a bot factory. So the bot factory, where people come up with ideas, different divisions can say, right, I want a bot for my sales group, I want a bot in supply chain. So where there's almost a backlog, and there's prioritization, there's a committee that decides which bots. I think that's the holy grail. And this is, and some of you who are out there, you don't think of this as something new. Okay, you might have a process improvement group, you might have an ISO group, you might have a Six Sigma group. I think those are also groups that possibly can get tasked with this, because this is kind of and I started my career with business process re-engineering. I think all of this is kind of the same thing. I mean, we're talking about how we can improve processes. You can. I mean, one is, even if you automate manual processes, you'll get benefits. But the big impact is when there's an element of re-engineering, because with automation, with RPA, with IQBot, the technology is so potent, it is so valuable, and it allows so much more, that you can do more than just automate the manual process, because the manual process is done in a particular manner, because there are constraints of the human. The human cannot do a SQL command. I mean, you can't do a SQL string and do a query. A bot can do that. So it can. So that process that had 10 steps, you do a SQL thing and come back, it only needs 3 steps. Okay, so I think that's the part as well. I mean, we're not, as a company, we're very agile, and we don't want a 6-month re-engineering workshop. But in agile, it's so agile that you get your release 1 done in 3 steps. Maybe you've left some money on the table, and you could have done it in 2 steps. But you know what? You can do that in 1 more iteration. Don't try to get it all perfect the first time itself. I think, and that's something that we truly tell people: embrace agile, embrace the iterative model, and get things going. Go live, MVP out quickly.
So don't aim for the moon.
Yeah.
First, start with quickly showing that the value can be delivered, and then keep building on that momentum as you deliver more value. To actually then aim for the moon. And I think this enterprise-wide transformation is that aiming for the moon. And I think your example of Suncore was very pertinent, where you have 500 plus bots running at Suncore. And I know that from our experience with a lot of customers who have scaled, we have a customer in Brazil, in Colombia, a banking customer who has over 2,000 bots today. So there are certainly many, many customers who have scaled to hundreds and thousands of bots. But I also know, Vijay, that scaling does not happen on its own, right? It needs a structured process. It needs an organization to make that scaling happen and sustain it, because bought as pieces of software, they have to be managed. They have a life cycle of their own. The underlying systems change. And I'd like your insight into, for some of our panel attendees on the call, if they've really scaled to that opportunity of hundreds of bots, what are the best practices in making it sustainable and making it grow from that point?
Yeah, I think the sustainable, so it almost has to be institutionalized, right? Yes. You need to get, you need to get people to first commit to it at a very high level. I mean, in terms of budget, you can't have a start and stop. Okay, like we've done 2 bots, and now I have to go and present again for more money. I mean, so you almost need a commitment to an automation journey, what we call a journey. So you're saying that this is the journey, and here is our spend over the next 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Because if you're going to do it very tactically, you will get only tactical results. Now, if you do see that, and one way to do this is to initially do a workshop and tell people to come up with all possible ideas of things that they might automate. Go through a screening and then find out what is the backlog. Okay, and is the backlog enough for 1 year of work, 2 years of work, 3 years of work? And then, okay, even if it's 3 years of work, at least get a commitment for 1 year. I'm not saying you commit for the whole 3 years, but at least get a commitment for 1 year. So which means that even, and this is a process that's not baked, because as you go in, you might see another process that comes in that overrides it. But you're able to create a backlog, because as management needs to see that the money that goes in is bringing in is bringing in the results, bringing in efficiency. So all those good things that automation is talking about, they need to see that coming in. Because also from an oversight perspective, if they want to have somebody to manage the process, whatever, all of that has to pay for itself. And then secondly is to have cross-functional teams. We truly believe it's not just IT. And this is where a lot of that fail, and some very large implementations of RPA have failed. Okay, it's not that it's all of them is rosy. It's not a bed of roses, and all stories are good. Okay, there are quite bad horror stories as well, in terms of people spending millions of dollars and not getting any benefit. Now, why did some of those things go wrong? They either went and said, okay, IT, go and do this. IT went and did it their way. They did not actually involve the business. There was and things change, right? And even if you do this in a traditional waterfall method, today processes are very iterative, and you might say, okay, at the end of a 1 year project, people might say, oh, you know what, but things have changed now. Too late. So you've got to do this iteratively and correct it, course correct it. For us, most of our releases are every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks we have a sprint for most of our projects, and so every 2 weeks there's an opportunity for you to course correct. You can say, you know what, maybe this is not right. Okay, I mean, it's okay to say that. I mean, nobody's going to lose their job and all. But after 1 year, after building a whole big thing, if you say that, I mean, then that's a lot of money that's been put in there. Secondly, I think there's another approach as well, where they've gone full business, non-IT. You know what? We're going to do this on the sly, and this is when terms like shadow IT get coined. People say, you know what is this thing? We don't know what this is, and then very simple reason why bots fail. IT does an upgrade of Windows or an upgrade of something. Firewall kicks in. Bot cannot log into anything else. So very simple reasons why you've got to get the IT involved as well. It has to be a collective, truly enterprise effort, because if you try to do it without IT, you will fail. And I'm telling you, we spend a lot of time, a lot of customer grief with access, because a bot is like a human. If you cannot access your email, if you cannot access SAP, if you cannot access something, it is not going to work. So access is key, and so you need to get the right people in the room, right people on the group.
I think two very important points, Vijay, that you made are, one is it needs in the whole organization approach. It cannot be a siloed approach to automating and transforming. It has to be a whole organization approach. The second thing I liked about it is that how do you get ideas? And I think people have ideas, they just need to be asked for. And
Yes.
An example I have is one of the very large Indian PSUs in the oil and gas sector. I cannot take the name. They're a very, very large customer, possibly at the scale of Suncor. They have been into the automation journey with us for about 2 years. And I've been just astounded by the energy that the organization has in automating. They recently did a hackathon, and over 500 people participated. These were not nominated people. People came out on their own in a PSU organization, over 500 of them, and submitted over 250 ideas for what they would like to automate. And I think that clearly shows that people realize that they are spending a lot of their time, valuable time, in doing things that computers should be doing. And these ideas are just there. One last thing that I want to touch upon, and I don't see any questions yet here, so I think I have the opportunity to ask a question to you. We are seeing a tremendous momentum about this new technology that we have brought in called AARI, which is Automation Anywhere Robotic Interface. And this is really helping to put a face to the whole process, where you can orchestrate a set of things, a set of tasks in a easy to build web interface. And that AARI interface then becomes your assistant, like a digital assistant, in going through the tasks and looking at the output of the bot, reviewing and approving it as necessary, wherever necessary, and then going to the next task. And we have seen large implementations of this in banks, where hundreds and thousands of seats of AARI are being sold in improving customer service, kind of very much like what you've done with your intelligent assistant called TIA, where a TIA assistant can look at a customer query and invoke a backend bot and do the whole thing. Gone are the days where the intelligent assistants were only for FAQ, right? They are now able to carry out the full job, full process on behalf of the end user. So together with AARI-like digital assistants, with technologies like TIA, I think there's a new whole world of transformation possible in addressing many, many things. For example, in case of IT, it could be IT service automation, where things like password reset, access to certain things, they can all be fully automated through technologies like AARI and TIA. How would you like to maybe educate us on what are you seeing out there in the field with respect to these kind of things?
Yeah, I think this is again one of those aspects that it's a force multiplier. It blows people's minds away, and I think it once you see it in action, they realize it. Again, as you said, in the large PSU or energy company, once they see a bot working, then people's ideas, people, their gears start turning about the possibilities. Similarly, with TIA and with AARI now, so we actually had TIA even before AARI came about. What we are able to do is using natural language processing, you can talk to a bot, either chat or even voice chat. Also the bot can authenticate you. So it is not just generic information. You can pull it from the back end, like give me the latest brochure for BMW 3 Series, but where is my BMW right now, here is my order number. So the chatbot will actually authenticate you. Pramod, can you give me give me your name, and then and then we will say, okay, we will send you a OTP to your cell phone. You authenticate yourself, and then you can actually get a status report of where your car is. Or this could be similar to if you're sending your car for repair. And this is just an example. One of India's largest auto dealerships is our customer. So they sell one car every 15 minutes. Okay, so the interactions that people have with the dealership is huge. If they sell one car, they actually sell a car every 15 minutes. So just imagine how many people come to repair cars. So how can all of this stuff, and most of the calls are, when will I get my car? Where is my car? Okay, those kind of things. Okay, now let's take that to a hospital.
Right.
What is my COVID result? Okay, in India right now, I think they already send it by SMS. But but in many other countries, there's actually a little stricter in terms of the dissemination of information, all of those privacy and all of that stuff. So you've got to authenticate people, make those things, and something that we've done is something called as a COVID passport. And based on how everything is going, I think that's a term that a lot of us are going to hear a lot in the near future, because in Canada, in the US, many places, you will need a COVID passport, which essentially says that you've been vaccinated, you got your double vaccine, and that will allow you to enter some like theaters, even public transit, or offices. A lot of employers in Canada now have mandated a COVID passport. So how do we do that? Now, to get your COVID passport, now my son goes to school, and he has a manual COVID passport that is self-attested, that my wife or I have to sign. Now, what we had done was we can do this through a chat bot. Somebody just chats with the school chat bot. The school chat bot, we tell the school chat bot, yes, this guy is okay. He goes there. There's a QR code that comes back, and he can just show that QR code either printed by parents or on a smart device, and it came. So there are lots of use cases where people can interact, with people, like interacting with people. Now, if that same human interaction that people have got used to with through a chat window, if there's a human on the other side, we were okay with it. Now, if there's a intelligent a bot there, NLP kind of bot that can speak in the language of the human, I think it lends itself to a lot of things, especially with the back-end stuff. So a process where something has to be delivered, not just informational, right? And this actually triggers. You can also do bookings. Let's say I want to book my dentist thing. We're actually working with a dental chain right now, where they can actually do a booking without actually speaking to anybody. Or you want to move your booking, right? All of this, and this can be at 2 in the night. At 2 a.m. in the night, you had a booking at 9 a.m. In the old case, you had to wait for the clinic to open, and then you would have to call in and say, I can't come in. Today, 24/7. So look at this from a benefit to both sides. The customer gains and the organization gains as well. So fantastic benefits on all sides.
Yeah, I think there's beautiful stories there, because I think what you can do today with the today's state of automation and AI technology is, without having to rewrite the underlying core systems, you can provide a very flexible layer of customer experience. And in whichever way, and in whichever digital channel you need to deliver, it is possible today through the use of these technologies, and at a fairly low cost. Which I think your stories are just phenomenal. I really learned a lot and loved interacting on this panel. I don't see any question, but I think we'll probably can have the floor open. Ajinkya, is that okay to have the floor open?
Yes, Pramod, yeah.
Okay.
Ajinkya, I
So
see a lot of requests for an e-certificate. I don't know, is that something that we're going to give, or is that an Automation Anywhere thing? Is that a Tangentia thing? I don't know.
Yeah, Suma, do you happen to know the e-certificate thing?
No, we are not giving any certificate. I'm not sure.
Okay. Again, if those of you, I think there are this might not be the right one, but I'm sure all of you who have joined have gained some knowledge about automations. You've if anything, one thing that I like to do is inspire people to go and do things. But I think I think we will let you know. Obviously, there are programs where you can get certified as well, and we will let you know.
Yeah.
But Pramod, you want to say something?
Brijesh, I'm sure we can issue a participation certificate, right?
Yeah. So you know what? If we could do that as well, but we'll take that go. So here's what I'll say. Please send an email with your name and to sjena Suma sjena @tangentia.com. Suma, if you want to put in your email there, and we will take care of that.
So Vijay, there's a question here. How do you see RPA impacting the SMB, including the education vertical?
Okay.
The way I like to talk about this is that in SMB, the pressure and the number of roles a person can perform is even more than a regular organization. And I think having automation tools that are easy to use can really simplify the life of a worker in any company, and especially in a small and medium sized company. And it's an example that I like to give from my own nephew's company. He runs a 50 to 60 people manufacturing shop, and he has actually automated everything in his organization. Just because he wanted to get the right data at the right time, and it was only possible through making it automated, because otherwise things were in finance department, HR department, supply chain, they were just get piled up. So we see a huge role for automation, and the beauty of the automation tools today, such as from our company, is that they're pretty low code. So anybody can learn them, anybody can put them to use. And therefore we see it as a driver for growth for any sector, and SMB even more so. In the education vertical, I think if you look at areas like how do you improve the candidate experience today, today educational universities and colleges are competing for the right kind of candidate to join their education institutions. So improving the candidate experience, sorting through hundreds and thousands of potential candidates and making sure you're making the admission offer to the right candidate. They're all processes that need to be completely relooked at. And I think education therefore can benefit a huge lot, because education is again a vertical where the resources are scarce, right? They're not profit-driven companies. So any organization like that can benefit from wherever you have tons of data, tons of processes, but you still have to get your job done. And I think automation can help. Vijay, if you would like to add anything, please.
Yes, I'd like to add. So universities, big schools like universities. We were pitching for a university in Canada. 60,000 students. Huge. So 60,000 students at admission time. Just imagine the number of people that they have to hire. If every student even asks one question, calls in once, that's exactly 60,000 queries. Now, can we, and these are global people, a lot of the international students. So it plays very well into the AARI, TIA kind of thing, where chatbots can manage a lot of these things. What is the status of my application? Did I get my residence? These are questions that very easily can be done, and this is not. And these are things where it can actually go and get that information from the back end. Now, on the SMB, I had just a quick thing to add. Again, India, and there's SMB and this SMB India. Okay, SMB India is even a special category. So with Tangentia, what we've done is, and those of you who are from Mumbai know that in Mumbai, you can get chai and you can get cutting chai. Cutting chai is either 1/2 chai or 1/3 chai, the things like that, right? So what have we done at Tangentia? We have taken the bot. Now in SMB in India, you don't even have to buy the whole bot. Tangentia gives a cutting bot. A cutting bot is 1/2, 1/3, 1/4 bot. Okay, so kid you not, this is serious. If you can get in touch with your Tangentia sales rep, because we have broken it down to an amount where you can consume it. So again, it is still, I realize, for you to jump in and get in as an SMB, it is a significant amount of money. So we've tried to lower the bar. So if you're considering an SMB and considering, give a shout out to your Tangentia salesperson, or send us an email to sales@tangentia.com. Cutting bot, 1/4, bot is only cost you 1/4. Obviously, you only get it for 1/4 of the time. It is time shared, but still, I think you get all the benefits of automation.
I love that innovation, and I think we have 5 minutes over time or so. So I'd like to thank you again for inviting me, and I think we had a great conversation, and I hope the audience got some meaningful insights out of this. So thank you, Vijay and the Tangentia team.
Thank you, Pramod. Thank you on behalf of Tangentia. We really appreciate you making time for us.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.